This is the Real Estate Show. It's proudly sponsored by Gold Key Properties, and they remain the leaders in the development of quality residential, commercial, and mixed-use spaces all over Accra. So if you're an investor and you're looking for that real estate company to do business with, Gold Key Properties is that company that I recommend to you. You can talk of all the properties in all the prime locations in Accra, and definitely you would find Gold Key Properties over there. The show is also supported by Gassam, the nation builder. I have a special guest for you. Now, here's a man who's well versed in every aspect of the real estate sector in Ghana and even beyond. Of course, there's a lot to expect from this interview, so relax. And now let me introduce him. So I have with me the General Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Samuel Megayebo is our guest for today's edition here on the Real Estate Show. Mr. Megayebo, it's good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Megayebo, as it stands, say I have $1 million. What aspect of the real estate sector would you advise that I put my money into?
I hope the Bank of Ghana will not be looking for you for talking about money.
There are many investors watching now. Watching us now. There are many investors watching now.
You mean which sector?
Yes.
Let me break it down for you.
Okay.
The real estate sector,
okay,
we have two main categories. Oh no, our issues are categorized in two areas. Either the supplier side or the demand side.
Okay.
So when we say supplier side, it has to do with the developers and all that they go through to provide a house on the market for people to buy. And the demand side is those of you who are looking for property to buy, what you go through to finally have the capacity to purchase a property. So each of these sides we have problem.
Okay.
And when it comes to the demand side, we can talk about mortgage.
Okay.
So how many people are able to access mortgage? So investors are free to put their money in mortgage financing. In fact, as I speak to you now, our leadership is working with the Bank of Ghana and all the stakeholders that be to see how best we can amend the mortgage law to make it flexible for companies to offer mortgage. At the moment, it's only banking institutions that can offer mortgage.
Okay.
So if I sitting here, Mr. Megayebo, think that I have $1 million, which you have just shared with me, which I'll be coming for my share, and I want to invest it, it means that I can decide that this $1 million, I'm willing to give $30,000 loan facility to people who are interested.
Okay.
So if you divide 1 million by 30, you will see that you'll be able to help probably 20 to 30 people if government will allow or the laws will allow me to grant that kind of a service to people. So we are looking at how best we can, revise the mortgage law to make it possible for companies to come in and offer mortgage and not just banks.
Right.
That is one. And then also, so if that is possible, then you can give the loan direct without using bank. So it's a place you can invest. You can also decide to give this $1 million to any of the mortgage financing companies. Then you arrange your percentage share of what dividends you make and just give it to them to run.
Right.
So that's for the demand side.
Okay.
And then you can also offer loans to individuals who are willing to procure anything related to building a home. Some may have their land already, but they are struggling to find money to build. You can also offer direct loan to them, not necessarily mortgage arrangement, but the loan. And it will interest you to know that, as I explained to you, about 90 to 95% of houses in Ghana are built through piecemeal.
Okay.
Piecemeal meaning that they acquire land, it takes several years, then they do small farms.
I agree.
And then they add on 20 years, 25 years. In fact, some of them even die before their houses are fully built. So if you can have a product that can give people the opportunity to take loans, it fits. If you go and take a loan to build a whole house and your income structure is not too good, you struggle. But they should be able to design products that are flexible. So people are taking loans and acquiring land. They take a loan to acquire land. Then within no time, they have money to pay. Then they take another pack they do foundation. In fact, the banks have seen that it has become a challenge for a lot of people. So they have flexible terms of this nature. And so an investor can easily partner with these financial institutions to do that. In fact, today, people can build 6-story building in China in 24 to 48 hours.
I agree.
Because the units are done in factory.
Okay, so they just arrange them.
They just arrange them like jigsaw. It hasn't gotten here yet. Those systems hasn't gotten here yet. But it's one area we are looking at people coming in. Anything that is real estate related, either material, inputs, and all sort of opportunities are there. Then when it comes to the supply side, which is those of us who are actually supplying, we need loan.
Okay.
We also need loan to provide access to cheap loan.
Cheap loan, keyword, affordable.
Affordable loan. So sometimes when you use cheap, it's kind of derogates the issue. So let's say affordable loan, where we can take money and use to build for houses for people to come and buy at affordable prices. Sometimes the funders don't have the patience. So we need people who understand the industry and design funding products that suit our peculiar circumstances.
Right.
So things like moratorium is one very crucial thing that we need. You go and take funding from a source, there is no moratorium. You have not even dig foundation, but your interest is taken.
It started.
And then sometimes you start a project, then you are served with an injunction on the land because of our imperfect land registration system. And the funder doesn't understand. As for me, I've given you money. And I told you that per our agreement, you are supposed to start paying me back in a month's time. So I care not about your litigation issue. You get me? But if you have a funder who understands the system, the land system in Ghana, he could use the moratorium will help. That he has given you funding, and he says that you have 1 year free space to, to cool off, to breathe, to put the fund into the activity to the point where it will start yielding. Then you can start charging interest rate. But most of them don't understand that system, so it becomes a bit difficult. So we need investment in this area. And as I said, input suppliers, technology, and all, they are all very viable areas that I think investors can look at.
Right. Mr. Megaibo, I would want us to go for a break at this point. The conversation is getting very interesting, but let's take a breather, go for a break. When we do return, we'll talk more about affordable housing in Ghana. So this is the Real Estate Show. It's proudly sponsored by Gold Key Properties. They remain the leaders in the development of quality residential, commercial, and mixed-use spaces all over Accra. The show is also supported by GASM, the nation builder. My name is Ifia Fusa. Let's go for a break, and we are back shortly. Do stay.
Ghana's real estate industry is thriving, a reflection of the growth the nation as a whole is experiencing. Gold Key is part of this story. We have a unique opportunity to introduce world-class standards of luxury to the real estate market in Ghana. From pristine residential projects to high-rise commercial buildings, Gold Key is changing Accra's landscape. The past decade has seen an amazing journey as we have the structures in place to engineer an even more glorious future.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Real Estate Show with me, your real estate counselor, Ifia Fusa. The show is proudly sponsored by Gold Key Properties. Of course, they are greater members, so you can trust to do business with them. They are developers of quality residential, commercial, and mixed-use spaces all over Accra. It's also supported by GASM, the nation's builder. Right, so before we went for that break, I did indicate we'll be talking about affordable housing in Ghana after the break. I still have with me here the General Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Mr. Samuel Megaibo. Mr. Megaibo, we are back. Now, let's talk about affordable housing in Ghana. What's your definition of an affordable house?
I don't know whether you are asking for my personal definition.
Yeah, I want your personal definition.
But what is happening is that for now, we can say that affordability is relative.
Okay, I agree.
We need to define it in a particular context that will be applied generally to everybody, but we haven't done. But if you look at the housing policy document, it says that if an individual gives away 40% of his income towards servicing either a loan or any kind of facility towards a house continuously for say 20 years, and he's able to sustain, that means that it's affordable to you. So it suggests that affordability is relative.
It's relative.
My income, your income will not be
differ.
the same.
Okay.
But we need to define it in the context of what goes into the house. You can put a price ceiling and say, based on this quality that you expect the house to have, maybe an area, floor area, what size of plots will that property sit on, and what inputs go into that house. If you are able to define all these things and put a price ceiling that if you provide all this and it doesn't go beyond this price, it's affordable, then we can actually see that we have defined affordability. And we should be able to serve the majority of the populace. I think we want to use the public sector as a benchmark, because if you go and use private sector people, they are paying huge salaries to some of these private people. The public sector's income are not that high.
Right.
So for me, whatever definition that we come up with finally should be something that serves the majority of the public sector as a base, and then we can expand from there. So we'll come up with something.
Okay. Now, as part of efforts to make housing more affordable, you would find some real estate companies move not outside Accra, but then to developing places. I can cite examples like Shy Hills, the Pram area, Oyibiyu, Ayikuma, and all of those places. What do you have to say about such places?
You see, all these things are viable. You only have to find out what target group you are trying to serve.
Okay.
Now, let me give you an example of Trazaco.
Right.
You see where Trazaco is sited. It has one of the top-notch properties
Okay.
we have in Ghana, one of the luxury type of property. And look at where it is located. When it started, I'm sure nobody gave it a chance that you're going to succeed. But it has become one of the iconic projects that people want to go and look at where it is located. So you can decide to do any of this project anywhere. You just have to have a target in mind. Who are you trying to serve? And design the product to fit that target.
Right.
But you cannot just go out there and start rolling out a housing project and just hope that people will come and buy. That is some of the mistakes a lot of us have been doing. And it has not helped well for investment. And so some projects have been stuck. They have not been completed. People's investments are finished while the project is not completed. It's also about poor project management, either underestimating.
Okay.
So you agree with the financier that my project is going to cost me 2 million. You succeed in securing the funding. But because you underestimated the project, you spend the money, but it doesn't get to where you are supposed to get to start bringing in the money. Then somebody sees it and he thinks that
You
it's a
spent the
disaster
money.
not to go into the real estate. This is not so. People may not have been consulting properly. They are rolling out products that are not consumable or adoptable by the system. So you need to work hand in hand with especially mortgage companies and work in hand with the people you are targeting. Is this project supposed to target people who have an income of say 5,000 a month or 10,000 a month? You can work this out with any of the mortgage companies. You sit them down, they will give you the figures, and then you'll be able to know who you are targeting. But we call something off-taker.
Off-taker.
Now, I will suggest or will advise any real estate company should have an idea of who he's targeting, as I've already said. And if possible, get an off-taker agreement signed with these people. So you can decide that you are having a project at OEB based on the location of OEB and the amount you bought your land for. Certainly, you cannot develop a house that will cost less than 50,000. It's going to cost 100,000 and beyond. Then you find out which people or which category of the citizen can afford. Then you say, okay, I think this can be paid for by doctors, can be paid for by insurance companies or multinational companies. Tallow, oil, and coal. Some of these companies have staff that have good earnings. So you design the product to suit them. And you'll be surprised that you'll be able to get them to sign an off-taker, meaning that you design it on paper.
Okay.
You put the whole design on paper, you give them the concept, you give them the time frame in which you can deliver. Then you sign an agreement. That is a ticket on its own.
Right.
It's an off-taker because you are getting the assurance that upon delivery of 100 houses or 200 houses in this location, we, staff of Tallow Oil, or we, SIC Insurance, or doctors.
So you have a market for it.
You have a market for it. This is how best I would advise any investor or any real estate company that is coming. Don't build and hope that people will buy.
Don't build and hope people will buy.
How
long? What's the longest you've seen a property that's been nicely built last before it was probably sold or something?
I'll be honest with you. We haven't done a study, but I've seen properties that have been standing for 3 years.
That's serious. Imagine you have 100 apartments and they're there for 3 years. You haven't sold even one.
Or you have sold just a few.
That's serious.
You have a problem of this interest on loans.
Accumulating.
It's already a disaster walking. People have died. I'm not joking. People have died because of some of these investments. I used to joke that when you want to be a real estate developer, there are requirements.
Okay.
After you have satisfied the GRA for issues, SNIT issues, gone to Register General, you should go for health checkup. You should go for a health checkup, make sure that your heart is big.
Okay.
And it's clean enough to survive the turmoil. Because the issues with real estate business, my sister, is not a joke. You must be ready for it.
Okay.
But with the right arrangement in place, you should have minimal hurdles going forward. If you have a clean title, it is one sure bet way of going clean. If your funding is secured. You see, people make mistake of going for funding arrangement that doesn't take them to the end. You should have a financial arrangement that will take you to the end of the project. If you don't have it and you are going to do piecemeal, and you are not lucky, some of them think that when they start, they will be able to get buyers to maybe come and deposit something, you know. But those are not guarantees. And so I wish that you have that funding arrangement firmly secured before you start. When you start, as you flow, some people too are watching. You know the Ghanaian, we can see. He wants to buy, but he wants to see that the thing is happening. It's not everybody who believes your concept and want to make a deposit. So you should have all this in mind and then have that arrangement. And then also have an effective project management system. A lot of people don't have that. In fact, I'm sorry to say, sometimes there's nothing wrong in running a business that is family owned. But sometimes we take it to the extreme at the detriment of productivity.
Right.
You can have a firm, the man is the CEO, the wife is the administrator, the first son is project manager, the second son is the marketing officer.
Okay.
And the whole company.
The list can go on and on.
The list, I don't mind. There's no problem having your children who have the requisite expertise to manage those branches and that department of the company. But if they don't have it, trust me, you can't expect a proper outcome. So if you don't have it, please engage professionals to take up these positions to help you deliver. And then you can bring this to your family to come and understudy. So that after some years, when they have acquired the experience, they take over.
Right.
But I have seen people who struggle with their companies because of staffing alone. It is one very critical part. Then beyond the staffing, the technical team, the kind of artisans we have on our project, please, they can cost you money. If it costs you a bag of cement to build 2 meters of wall, whether the mason is good or the mason is bad, the cement may remain the same. But the project will sustain if the work was done by a professional.
Right.
But if you got a bad mason, the possibility is that that wall will be either crooked or will not stand the test of time, and so you may have to replace the wall, and it will be a cost to you as a developer. So some of the costs that developers are passing on to suppliers, property buyers, it's also not fair.
Okay.
It is all because of some of these things. So don't incur costs that you can avoid. Engage professionals and incur costs that you have to incur, so that it will help you have your costs as it should be. It's something that
I agree. So engage professionals, and in terms of professionals, the company that I recommend to you is Gold Key Properties. They are the leaders in the development of quality residential, commercial and open spaces all over Accra. The show is also supported by Gasem, the nation builder. So you're live on the real estate show with me, Efia Fuso. I have been engaging the General Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Mr. Samuel Amegaibo. Amegaibo, it would be great to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Right. So we wrap up the conversation here, and we come back next week with another power-packed edition of the real estate show. My name is Efia Fuso. Remember, you can always watch a playback of the show on all our social media handles, on Facebook, on YouTube. You can also get interactive with us via our Instagram and on our Twitter handle as well. Until then, enjoy your weekend and see you next week.
Ghana's real estate industry is thriving, a reflection of the growth the nation as a whole is experiencing. Gold Key is part of this story. We have a unique opportunity to introduce world-class standards of luxury to the real estate market in Ghana. From pristine residential projects to high-rise commercial buildings, Gold Key is changing Accra's landscape. The past decade has seen an amazing journey as we have the structures in place to engineer an even more glorious future.